Hey, I'm J.R. Lay. Welcome back to the Level Up Business Podcast. In this episode, we are going to explore what it means to be fully invested as an entrepreneur. Not partly invested, but fully invested. And before we get into our conversation, I'd like to invite you to get a copy of my best-selling book, Banking on Change. It is the leader's guide. It is the entrepreneurial leader's guide to achieve exponential growth in the age of AI. You can text me 832-240-1922, and I'll text you a copy so that you can level up your mind, marketing, and sales so that you can level up your business and your life. Now, joining me for today's conversation is Chad Willardson. He is the author of 5 best-selling books. He's also the founder and president of Pacific Capital, where he helps 8- and 9-figure entrepreneurs enjoy increased lifestyle and financial freedom. But most recently, Chad also founded Elevated Platinum, where he is leading and mentoring an ever-expanding group of visionary entrepreneurs, helping them break through and reach business goals, personal goals, just elevate their life, elevate their business, elevate their life. And Chad, I've been a member of this. It's been a great opportunity. The progress, we're having this conversation here on this podcast because of some of the challenges that you've put me up against over the last 12 months or so. And I don't want to go down that path. I want to come back to you in the philosophy that has guided you as an entrepreneur. 2 simple words. Let's start here. Fully invested.
Yeah.
What does this mean to you and why?
Well, thanks again for having me back and having this conversation. Fully invested to me it's a life motto, and I've trademarked it. It's something that I'm absolutely excited about. And I was having a conversation recently in Florida at a lunch meeting, and I met this lady, very, very successful business lady. Her clients are like Richard Branson, Tony Robbins, just a very Richard Brunson, like very, very prestigious businesswoman. And she says, as I'm listening to you, Chad, it sounds like you're fully invested in everything you do. And I said, that is so funny you say that, because my signature tagline, or my signature, instead of saying sincerely, it says fully invested, and it says my name. Yeah, my sign off. Thank you. That's what I was looking for. My sign off has been fully invested on my email for about 15 years. And it means not just financially, because that's my background as wealth management. Like, we're fully invested. We're not sitting on the sidelines with money, waiting and hoping for the perfect time to invest. But it's also a way of life. It's how I look at my 23 plus year marriage. It's how I look at parenting our 5 kids. It's how I look at anything that I get involved in. I want to be fully invested. And to me, yes, I will make mistakes. I will fall flat on my face. I will struggle. I'll have failures, but at least I know that I was completely all in. I was committed. And to me, that's a better way to live than just waiting and hoping.
You mentioned something. You're all in. And that's from the wins, personally, professionally, as an entrepreneur, with your marriage, with your family, with your kids. But I think you just said something too. You're all in on the failures. You're all in on falling flat on your face and learning from those experiences and growing from those experiences. If you look back over the last, say, 23 years as an entrepreneur or marriage, maybe we'll look at both. Biggest lessons that you've learned as an entrepreneur, but then also as a husband and a father?
That's a big question. The biggest lessons I've learned really are that you only learn when you're doing things. And so I've learned that every time I've taken action and tried something, I've learned. And sometimes it's gone well, sometimes it hasn't gone well. But to me, it's so much better to try and to do things and to go for it and maybe go against the conventional wisdom and then just learn by doing, learn through experience. When I got married in college, I was 22 and my wife at the time was 20. And there were people who thought, well, we're too young to get married and we don't have any financial stability. I was making $5.25 an hour, and we were both full-time students. So why don't you guys just date and wait a few years and then get established in a career and then get married? And that didn't sound right to us. So we just learned by doing. We started off and we grew together, which was awesome. We learned to sacrifice. We lived in a 1-bedroom apartment, 400 square feet. I make the joke that I could vacuum the entire apartment and never unplug the little vacuum, It was that small. And in the same sense, for entrepreneurship, when I left Merrill Lynch in 2011 and started Pacific Capital, many people thought conventionally that that's not a great move to start all over. You built a business and a brand there at a big company for 9 years. You've got a corner office. They fly you around to speak at conferences. Like, why aren't you happy with what you've got? And I just thought, you know what? This is not the place I want to spend the next 40 years. So I think I've taken chances and big bets on opportunities with a mindset that if I go for it, I'm going to learn and it's going to be great and it's going to work out, or I'm going to learn and figure out what I actually should be doing. And so that's probably the best lesson, is that when I've taken action, I've gotten more clarity.
You have challenged me to take some really big, massive action to walk away from 23 years of what I was doing in financial services myself, and take this 18-foot waterfall leap. I think that's a great story for those watching or listening that might not have heard the journey that you were on. And I think it's a testament to being fully invested once again, because you connect these experiences you have personally with what you're doing as an entrepreneur, and then taking those experiences to help others see things that they can't see and challenge them in the ways that they have not been challenged before. What happened with this 18-foot waterfall, this drop?
Well, we were in New Zealand, Thanksgiving break, and we were filling up our schedule with adventure. And my wife said, hey, I think you should take our older 2 boys on this adventure rafting trip here in New Zealand. And it's pretty cool. It's got a 6-foot waterfall drop. It's pretty big. And so we got there and put on our wetsuits, our helmets, our life jackets and everything. And the guide told us about the 6-meter drop. And I realized my wife had not clarified that it wasn't 6 feet, it was 6 meters, and it's 18 feet. And it's the largest commercial waterfall drop that rafters can go on in the entire world. And I looked at my boys, one of them's 14, and I said, what do you guys think? And they said, well, let's just go for it. I said, all right, let's go for it. So we went for it. We got to the top of what was about to be that descension down the 18-foot face, and the guide paused, held against the side of the rocks, and gave us a little pep talk, safety talk. We went over everything again. He told us that we were going to be fully submerged. There's a good chance we flip out, and we're going to have to swim through the rapids for a little bit. But he prepared us, and so we had a main expert guide. We also had a second guide who was in the raft, and there was a safety guide in the canoe down at the bottom of the pool where the waterfall was. And I relate that to having experts, mentors, coaches, being with people on the raft who are striving for the same massive goal. And so I remember him saying, we put our paddles up in the air and we kind of got fired up and made some noise. And then he said, all right, let's go. Everyone tuck and hold. And so we tucked down and held, and we just went. And it felt, of course, it's only like 1 to 2 seconds, but it felt like 25 seconds where we were just kind of floating down. You couldn't feel the water, and then full submersion. And the pictures are amazing. They have a photographer set up across the river, and it's just, you just don't even see us. We're completely buried in the waterfall. Then we're completely buried underwater. And then we popped back up, and all we saw was my oldest son's head in the helmet. Everyone else is covered in water. And as soon as we got kind of our bearings, we stood up and cheered, and we hit our paddles together. And that sense of accomplishment of feeling for me and my sons doing that together is absolutely irreplaceable. Like you can't manufacture that feeling. It only could be felt and experienced after doing the big, scary 18-foot waterfall. So such a great metaphor for me, for my life, for my friends and clients. And I think that's something that JR, you and everyone else kind of felt that when we reviewed that story and that lesson.
If you want to level up your business like Chad, text me right now, 832-240-1922, and I'm going to text you a copy of my best-selling book, Banking on Change. It is the Entrepreneur's Guide to Achieving Exponential Growth in the Age of AI. You see, when I look back over the last 2 decades as a B2B entrepreneur myself, so much has changed. In fact, so much is going to continue to change as we keep moving forward into this age of AI, especially when it comes to marketing and sales strategies for B2B entrepreneurs. So send me a text, 832-240-1922, and I'll text you a copy of Banking on Change, which includes dozens of practical strategic frameworks that you can start using today so that you can level up your business, you can level up your life. Let's get back to the show with Chad. After you told that story, I thought to myself, why am I not taking action? Because I had been thinking about this idea of level up business literally all the way back in June of 2021.
Wow.
And it's like I'd start and then I'd stop. And I think you said something though, when you reflected on this story, and it's deeper than that. It's an experience.
Yep.
Because it evoked an emotion and you were able to
Absolutely.
share that emotion with others. And I want to come back to that point of emotion in just a minute. But when you're talking specifically about the action and being in the boat with the guide, working towards something with others that's bigger than just yourself.
Right.
You mentioned mentors, groups, masterminds, communities. What role have other guides, mentors, groups, masterminds played in your journey of what I would call true exponential growth?
Joining those kinds of groups has transformed everything I do in my life. And I think back to that analogy of the waterfall, as we sat there in the preparations room with like probably 5 or 6 different tour groups, I think the courage to go for it came largely because we looked around and saw other people going for it. And my sons and I looked and we said, well, if they can go for it, we can go for it. And if that group can go, like we can go. Like we're not trying this raft by ourselves and just going down this massive 18-foot drop. Like there's lots of people doing it too. So it didn't seem as intimidating because we had others around us going for it. And for me, the last 7 years, I've tried to surround myself with people who are striving for big goals. And it's pushed me to do bigger things. Our kids had ski lessons the last few days. We went on a ski trip, and it was interesting. This was really interesting because my wife said after the 3rd day, she gets a debrief from the ski coaches, and one of the ski coaches said, here's where your daughter has really made progress over the last few days. And they're in groups of, I think, 6 to 8 kids total with one coach. She said, this is a coach who was probably in her 60s. She's been coaching skiing for a long time. She said, remember this, these kids learn way better in the small group lessons than in the private one-on-ones. And my wife said, wait, really? Because don't they get more specific, tailored instruction? And she says they might, but they push themselves way harder when they're in a group of peers. And I was like, wow. Okay, that's really interesting because I would have thought paying extra for the one-on-ones would have been more impactful, but actually this lady who teaches both, she instructs privates and groups, and she said the kids work harder, push themselves more, and they learn more from each other than they do from the coach. And I thought that was really insightful.
You know, there's that African proverb that states, if you want to go fast,
Yep,
go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And you've been a testament of that yourself, just within your own entrepreneurial journey. And that story has been shared in different ways. 10X is easier than 2X. Great book. Chapter 2. If you haven't read it, if you're watching or listening, go pick up 10X is easier than 2X, and Chad's story is in there. And this idea of going together, you're doing this now and helping others do this with elevated platinum elevated.
Right.
And what was the inspiration for you to guide others now yourself to help them see things they couldn't see before, to help them do things that they couldn't do before. And I think to really start this conversation of being fully invested, to keep taking action, because that's how you said you have learned the most is I just keep taking action.
I've always been guiding, coaching, advising. It's strictly been in the wealth management space. So discussing someone's business decisions and money decisions and long-term goals, it just has always been attached to their financial life and their business life. And so creating Platinum Elevated was really just an extension of that and saying, these people do not have to invest money with me, but I'm still going to coach them on their mindset and help gather them together in mastermind groups that really allows them to flourish and grow. Like, I love creating environments where there's high connection and high commitment being made, and making a place, a space for just pure action and growth where success is inevitable and people are going to try new things. And I love pushing people to try new things. And so it was a natural extension of where I've been for the last 22 years in wealth management, and I'm having so much fun. So this is something that I'm just very excited about.
You mentioned the power of connection, and that's where I want to come back to this idea of experience.
Yep.
I feel like as we move further into this age of AI, we're moving out of the knowledge economy. Knowledge is getting commoditized in large language models, and we're moving into a new economy that I'm framing as the wisdom economy. And the wisdom economy is going to be based on experience, your experience, shared experiences, lived experiences, learned experiences. And experiences, it gives new perspective. And it's like your experience has been different than my experience, is different than others. But it's like, even in this conversation, I'm still learning and seeing things differently. And perhaps those watching or listening, or maybe they're hearing something like, I've never thought about it that way before. Where do you see human connection in the age of AI going when thinking becomes, and critical thinking becomes an even more critical part of the entrepreneurial journey, when a lot of the doing, if you will, has the chance to be commoditized, systematized, operationalized, automated because of AI?
Yeah, it's crazy to see what's possible with AI now. It's fascinating. I think, the era of memorizing facts and things like that, even in school, is gone. In my opinion, it's useless. So much information can be downloaded instantly. So what it comes down to, I believe, is how to properly apply it and when. And then also, like you said, the experiences and the energy of connection. So I could get a lot of great advice from AI on questions I have, and facts and data and suggestions, and map out a plan. And there's a lot of great stuff there. I can't simulate the connection and the energy with other people that I have in my relationships, in my mastermind groups, like traveling. I've got one of my mastermind groups is meeting up next week. I'm speaking in Miami Beach this Thursday and Friday at a conference of entrepreneurs. I can't simulate that on AI. Being there in the room on stage and giving people value and sharing stories and making new connections. Like, I can't mimic that with a computer. So there's a lot of things that AI will replace, but connection, real connection and energy and experiences in person, that's not going to be replaced.
Connections, conversations,
That's right.
content co-creation, as we're doing here. And I want to go down just a slight path around the idea of connection and conversation and what you're doing, what you've been doing as a B2B entrepreneur, helping other entrepreneurs level up and elevate. The personal brand, and it's something that has come up and elevated through some conversations. What has that journey been like for you? Because it has been something that you have been, once again, fully invested in.
Yep.
To build this brand, specifically on LinkedIn, but also other social channels too. What was the impetus for that, for you to make that commitment to go all in, to be fully invested there?
I just decided I can't grow in obscurity. Like I'm not going to grow and impact a lot of people by hiding who I really am and just posting plain vanilla business content everywhere. And so I decided, I don't know when it was, but I just decided, you know what? I'm just going to be me. I'm going to be the real me everywhere. Doesn't matter if it's an interview, social media, on stage, LinkedIn, newsletter. Like, I'm just going to tell exactly the unfiltered truth that I feel. And I hope that that will impact or attract the right people into my life, into my business. And since that decision, I think everything's changed for me, because I just basically gave myself permission to be the real me. And in the same vein, I think other people felt that own permission themselves. It unlocked something in them saying, you know what? I don't have to try to pretend to be a specific kind of professional everywhere that I go. You know, I remember getting an email that was like, I can't believe you post so much on social media about your vacations. Like, I would never let my clients see that side of my life. And I thought, that's kind of sad. I expect the people I pay for services to still go out and take their family to Disneyland or the beach or things like that. Like, I'm not going to take a picture of myself in the office at a desk every day and post it and pretend this is where I spend 100% of my life. So, you know, just deciding to be who you really are and to put it out there has really made an impact for me. And I think everyone who does it, businesses are more likely to pay a premium and to hire someone hire a company whose leader has a strong personal brand. And most of the case, that's found online. So what kind of a brand are you building?
This actually connects back to the point before about connections and conversations and how that can lead to collaborations even, but it's not artificial intelligence.
Yeah.
And perhaps when you talk about just being you, that's another AI, that's authentic intelligence.
I like that.
And being able to lean more into yourself and not having to put the mask on. This is something that I've been working just myself over the years, and it's taken time, but it's like, this is who I am, and being comfortable with that. And what do you see, because this really connects this full circle now back to action and being fully invested. What prevents other entrepreneurs from being fully invested, and as a result, because they're not fully invested, they're failing to take the actions that they need to take to elevate and level up?
I think the primary reason entrepreneurs aren't fully invested is fear of failure. People are scared to fail. They're scared of judgment. They're nervous about making big mistakes. And so we often just put ourselves in this comfort bubble where we don't get hurt. You know, it's like wrapping your kid in bubble wrap before they go out and ride their bike. Like, actually, it's better if you let your kid just ride their bike. Yeah, wear a helmet, but if they fall off and scrape their knees, they're going to survive and they'll learn for next time. And it's the same with entrepreneurship. Like, we need to scrape our knees sometimes and fall off the bike. You will never learn how to ride a bike with the bike sitting in the garage and you're watching videos on riding bikes and you're reading books and listening to podcasts on how to ride a bike. Like, at some point you need to push the pedals.
Get on the bike.
Yeah, get on the bike and go down the hill and try it out. And don't be afraid if people laugh at you or your bike is the wrong color or the wrong brand or someone else is teasing you because you got training wheels on the first ride. Like, who cares?
I must say, my bike has training wheels and has little streamers on the side, and maybe
little streamers, and it makes a little noise. You got a baseball card in the back. Like, just, I think that there's something to be said about just getting on the bike and going down the hill and giving it a shot, regardless of what happens. You got to get out there and ride the bike.
Get out there, ride the bike. What a great way to wrap up today's conversation. Get out there, get on the bike, get the bike out of the garage, ride the bike, fall off the bike, get back on the bike.
Get back on it.
Keep going. Chad, what's the best way for someone to connect with you? You've got 5 best-selling books. You've got Platinum Elevated. What's the best way for them to connect with you so that they can continue to learn, grow, level up, and elevate with you?
ChadWillardson.com and LinkedIn. I'm there every day.
Connect with Chad, learn with Chad, grow with Chad. And if you want to continue to elevate and level up as well, send me a text. I'm happy to send you a copy too of my book, Banking on Change. It is the Entrepreneurial's Guide to Achieving Exponential Growth in the Age of AI. 832-240-1922. Text me. I'll drop you a copy so that you can level up your marketing, your sales, level up your business, level up your life.